Tongue feels weird today. I think I've bitten it while I slept. No, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. Honestly, I woke up and it's like it's hard to describe. Right, I've got this weird sensation. Especially, it's like on the back towards the thing of my tongue, and it's just like. And I had a look this morning. I can't see anything. There's no.
There's not an ulcer on the gum or something like that?
No, I checked that as well. I thought, cause that's what I first thought. I thought, maybe I've got an ulcer and it's just my tongue's reacting to it. But no, there's nothing. But it's like, right there. It's so weird.
That's so staying in the podcast.
So,
I've got to support Japan.
Got to support Japan? Oh, support Japan. Cheers, sir.
Amen to party people. There we go.
Cheers.
We may have a new listener too by this episode.
Fabulous. Great to know. Anyway, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dorks Down Under, the podcast where we get together and just talk about random nonsense. We haven't looked at the comments from last episode in relation to the console wars. I'm too scared to go and look at it. I'm
pretty sure I'm editing that video and I'm uploading it. I'm really tempted just to turn the comments off because I'm like, I was so close to just be like, let's just turn the comments off because I don't want to get abused.
I think that might be the safest option. But anyway, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to season 3, episode 3, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to just be talking about. I'm about to say the only thing I want to talk about is my little holiday away.
I want to talk about Aquaman. Have you seen it yet?
No, I have not seen it yet. Elle wants to watch it together, and we've just not had the time, sort of thing. And we've got my mother-in-law visiting us at the moment, sort of thing. And it's not really a
Hunkosaurus Rex of safe film.
She enjoys watching movies, but she's more of a bit of a slower pace sort of kind of movie. So it's one of those we'll get to it sort of thing. It's on the list. But then again, I got a list a mile long at the moment because someone also recommended I watch. What series was it the other day? American Gods, because I've never seen that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. Somebody else said that was really good. And the other one that I'm looking forward to watching and binge watching is Reacher season 2.
I've not watched any of these Reachers yet.
Reachers are it's fantastic, and I've read 13 or 14 of Lee Child's books. So I was really excited because the movies did nothing for me. Because when the books say that he's 5'6", and we have a guy that's slightly taller than Willow from that movie playing him, I'm like, he's not 5'6". I don't even think he's 5'6", let alone 6'5".
Yeah.
And they're having Alan Rickman, not Alan Rickman, what's his name? Alan Richardson or something?
Something like that.
Richardson or something? I can't remember. But having him in it, who actually is like 6'4" and built like a brick shithouse, I'm like, that's
Alan
what my
Richardson.
That's it.
Yeah.
And having him, I'm like, thank the gods, because he is what I pictured as Reacher, and it makes me so happy. But I haven't seen season 2, but I wanted it for all of it to come out before I binge watched it.
I've to be fair, speaking of the books, obviously, I've never been a big fan of action books like that. Apart from the only action books I enjoy are the Warhammer 40,000 ones, but they're not really action books. They're just generally about the grim darkness of the future, which is the one thing I do like about it.
Yeah, see, I was a big fan. So obviously, you have what's his name, Matthew Riley, amazing action book writer. There's obviously Lee Child, Clive Klussner. Yeah. There's a few of them out there that actually are. And some of the things, there's another one that I think it's like David Gibbons, I think it is, which is a book I found when I was in London, weirdly. But it's really cool because he really does tie archaeology and old history and stuff like that into it. And they're a type of books that I really enjoy because I love the old school history and the old school history just tied into it and made this story where it's modern, but it ties that in. And even in some of the I think it's not the Scarecrow, what is it? The firefighter one, the one that I can't remember, but the Matthew Riley books, he does the same thing, and I can't remember. Oh my God, how have I forgotten?
The Towering Inferno.
No.
No.
No. It's he's the guy in it is like Alan West, I think it is. Adam West. Why can't I remember this? I'm an idiot. Jack West, sorry, is the gentleman's name. And there's 7 books in that series, and it all ties into ancient history and his knowledge of that. And it's really, really cool. Like, to be fair, I've only read, I think, the first 4, and though I have the other ones, I just haven't had around to reading it, and it kills my soul.
Okay. Well, as part of this ties in with my holiday as well, but the book I've just finished, 2 books I've just finished reading.
Was this one of those sleazy sex ones that your wife got you to?
I tell you what, it wasn't sleazy per se. This one, she says that this is probably the tamest series that she's read over the last 6 to 8 months. And but I tell you what, in the first book there's two. Well, I say scenes, but you know what I mean, sort of thing. There's two chapters that revolve around the raunchy bit, and it's just like you read it like, whoop. You can see why why everyone gets a bit worked up about it, sort of thing.
The thing that always made me laugh is where you've got, when obviously 50 Shades of Grey got really big, and you see people on the train reading it, and you can see they're reading it with like a bit of a grin on their face and stuff. And I'm like, that was fine when it first came out and we didn't really know it. Then it hit the masses. By the second or third book, everybody kind of knew what it was. And you were just sitting there reading this book with a grin on your face, and I'm like, come on, guys, we know exactly what that is. Like, don't lie to us. We know it's all over the news, but people seem to just keep reading it on the train as if it was nothing, and it made no sense to me.
Absolutely. I mean, so the series that I've just been reading, it's called the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros. So the first book was called The Fourth Wing, and the second one's called Iron Flame. Now, basically, I actually do enjoy it because it's very fantasy-esque. Because I was going to say
the name of those things could have been like a sci-fi book pretty easily.
Oh yeah, easily, but it's very much fantasy. It's basically about it's a bit like How to Train Your Dragon meets
50 Shades of Grey.
Twilight meets Harry Potter, ever so slightly. Yeah, it basically there's a big war on. There's 4. You either go into the scribe, or you're a healer, or you're a rider, or what was the other one? Infantry. So yeah, so you know, there's all this jazz and this whole thing. But basically, you're following this girl who's the general of the army. Her mum's a rider, and she becomes a rider because her mum puts her in it. She was meant to be a scribe and all that. So there's all this thing. But basically, you find out the dragons pick you, and then you get powers. You get special powers depending on what manifests and stuff like that. It's really
powers.
It's quite interesting. But basically, there's an entire thing where there was a rebellion, like, say 100 years ago, and basically the kids of the people who were killed in the rebellion have been going through the college as riders, basically because the riders quadrant you can die. You will be killed. Yes. Oh yeah, it's quite brutal. Some of the things that happen, man. Jesus.
This is very different to the sleazy sex story that you made it sound like it was going to be.
What is it? I think it's the end of the 3rd chapter. So they have to cross this death bridge to get across, right? It's the first initiation thing.
Okay, so can you repeat that as in death or death?
Death bridge, yes. Death.
I was going to say.
Death is in.
Okay, because the way it sounded like death bridge. I was like the bridge cannot hear. I'm like, it's a bridge,
the way
bro.
they describe it, it's this like little narrow balance beam brick thing, and it's like 300-foot drop into it. Yeah, it's like if you fall, you're dead. You know, it ain't good. And like you cross that, and then once you cross, you then have like a parade. You know, you stand basically like they're at attention and they're being paraded, and basically the senior year sort of talks to them and say, "Oh, you all think you're hot shit," and then like whoever's head's leader of the squadron, who's meant to be the bad guy in this, but he doesn't become the bad guy. He becomes the love interest. It's quite interesting. But basically, his dragon lands behind him, and she's massive and everything else. And there's several other ones, and several of the kids immediately run because they're terrified out of their mind about these massive ass dragons landing.
Makes sense.
And the dragons burn them alive. Oh no, it's not that you've crossed the thing and you're safe. No. If you wash out, you're dying.
So if you're scared of the dragon, even if you've crossed this death bridge, you're like, you failed, goodbye.
Oh yeah, but it's the dragon will choose the rider, and it's like every year they mention it at one point. Like every year, there's less and less dragons willing to bond, and so it's like now the problem is they're getting a surplus of cadets. And so once you've bonded, you've got like only a limited time to manifest your power, so the bond's strong. And but in that time, more other cadets who are unbonded will try and kill bonded cadets to try and get their dragons to bond with them and show that they're worthy. It is horrific.
This is nothing like sparkly vampires or like Hermione trying to tell you how to pronounce stuff correctly.
The Twilight thing is the love triangle that kind of happens because the girl that you follow, she's always been a bit sickly, but she's like, obviously she's someone important's daughter and blah blah blah, and she has a lad who she used to really like, who she grew up with and everything else, but of course she then falls to the bad boy, not the good boy. But then you find out the good boy is a dickhead and he's slightly bad, but he's not bad, and it's crazy. But then. Yeah, and it's really good.
This is the most bizarre review I've ever heard of a book.
The worst bit is that you actually fall in love with some of the characters, right? There's this one kid who's a comedic. He's the comedy element. He's the guy who says the wrong thing deliberately to make it, and you literally laugh your head off. The dragons, because the dragons can talk to their riders. Her dragon is like the biggest, baddest. He's a black dragon, so he's a very rare breed, but he's the biggest badass known to man. And I literally said to Elle, because while we were reading this, I was like, Idris Elba. She went, what? Idris Elba? She went, what about him? I said, that's who I'll get to voice Tane. And she's like, yes.
Yes. I still think either get like Samuel Jones or somebody with heaps of bass in their voice. Samuel Jones. Imagine Morgan Freeman's probably too nice for that.
Oh no!
Or you know what you get? You get Denzel Washington from Trading Day.
Oh yeah. No,
from Trading Day, where he's just like this big black dude. Where it's just like or you just have, if you're allowed to put motherfucker in it, get Samuel.
Oh, honestly, there are so many random characters. One of the best ones is basically the overarching storyline of the first book is. Basically, the big black dragon, he is life mates with the antagonist's dragon. Basically.
No.
But the problem is that because Tane lost his rider years ago, it nearly killed him, because that's what happens when they're bonded. The bond works both ways.
But then,
if the dragon dies, you will die, and if you die, you can cause a dragon to die, but it has to be a strong bond. So but
you were saying that didn't you say that that cadets kill other people to try to bond with their dragon?
When the bond is really at the very beginning stage, before, because what happens is you have this thing they manifest their powers. So everyone gets a different power. So the antagonist of the story, he has shadow wielding magic, which it's very rare for him, sort of thing. But so there was all this. It's quite interesting. Very interesting. It's really good. And he can manipulate shadows, he can also travel through shadows, and it's really cool. She ends up becoming a lightning wielder, which hasn't been seen for like 200 years. And she's like super powerful, but the problem is that obviously the first time she ends up realizing the connection between the dragons, is when Tane and his Mrs. Sagel are getting it on, and she can't block out his emotions, and she gets really horned.
Oh my god!
Yes, literally. It's funny because she ends up bumping into the good guy, the good friend. Who's like, I love you, I really do, but I don't want you. I want, because obviously she's, just feeling the emotions. It's really funny, but
That's so weird.
But at the end of the book, basically, you discover that there is, how do I describe it? It's like dark wizards who drain magic from the land, and they're trying to kill everyone and everything else. But basically, the main enemy that their nation's fighting is the Griffin Riders. But there's a big conspiracy, which you find out in the second book, and it's really good.
So how many books are there? Is it just two?
So there's two so far. The third one's coming out this year, and I've already told Elle I'm going to buy myself a copy, and I'm going to read it before she does. And she went, if I go anywhere near that series before, if we have to read it together, she says.
How do you read a book together?
Well, I told her that I'll buy a hardback copy, and I'll put one on the Kindle for her.
Oh, that makes sense.
And she went, absolutely not, because she's like me. She likes having a physical.
See, I like having a physical book, but I have grown accustomed lately to my Kindle. My Kindle's honestly, probably about 10, 12 years old. And I got it for
I do like having a Kindle, especially when you travel. Like, obviously with Edward.
Traveling 100%.
When we travel somewhere and we're going camping and all that, and it's like, right, here's all your books, blah, blah, blah. He's got 25 books to read. Enjoy.
Yeah.
We're not carting around 25 books at least, but at least he can't complain about not having something to read.
Well, that's the thing though. In my new house, obviously, I've got a bookshelf that my old man built me before he died. And it was like it was the last thing that he ever actually made. And it's a gorgeous bookshelf. And to be fair, it sat at my mum's house for years because living from apartment to apartment.
One sec. Oh, please don't tell me you've just corrupted. Oh, please don't you dare. Oh, God.
Motherfucker.
Streamlabs.
Good job, Streamlabs, you fuckwits.
Yeah. Okay, I've just lost all that, so I hope you're recording.
So do I now. Oh, wait, hang on, I'll press record now. No, I'm joking.
Oh, man, hang on. I think I know why it's a thing. I think it's because I'm running low on space. So let me just get rid of
Let me just delete porn.
Oh, got to be done, doesn't it? If I just get rid of that.
Well, my friend came over the other day because one of his drives was corrupted, and he's like, "Can you check?" He goes, "I don't know if he goes, I don't really want to reformat it if I can, but that being said, I'm not entirely sure what's on it. So is there a way of checking what's on it with this?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right, cool." So I managed to plug it into my external hard drive bay. I got all this stuff, and I was like, okay, so I've managed to save like 3.5 of the 3.8 terabyte. He's like, "What's on it?" I'm like, "You can probably format it." And there was like porn from like late 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. He goes, "Because I found it and I plugged it in and then it seemed to be working okay. And then as soon as I got into it, it went fine. And then all of a sudden it screwed up. So I was like, I don't know what's in it." And then I had a look and I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, you can format it." So I formatted it for him. And I'm just I'm like, wow, that was 4 terabyte. And back then, those movies were about 300 to 500 megabytes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of porn. I was like, damn.
Funnily enough, because because obviously we've recently started clearing out lots of our old electronics. Like we've got several old laptops and everything like that. The L's like, "Oh, I don't want to throw them away yet because I still haven't got all the photos off." And I was like, "Well, I know what I need to do. I need to go buy one of those little, like the little, what do you call them?
Yeah, the little hard drives, the encased ones.
Hard drive. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get one of them. Make life simple. I'll just get one of them, sort of thing. And then all you got to do is plug it in, stick everything you want on, and then once you've got everything off, factory reset, and we'll just sell it or trade it in or do whatever.
Whatever we need to do.
Whatever we need to do, but God forbid, it's just like I was looking for one for ages, and literally the other day I had to go buy Edward a new electric toothbrush.
Okay, yeah.
And so I literally, we parked up and I went into JB Hi-Fi, and funnily enough, they had a deal on this Star Wars variant.
Oh, really? That's fine.
But it came as a family pack and it was 2 of them, and I was like, well, great, well, I can save the other one.
Please tell me one's like C-3PO and one's like R2.
Yeah, but they're the standard Oral-B one. Basically, the difference is they come with some stickers that you can stick around. And there was because it was old, several prequels ago or sequels or whatever damn series we were on, they were selling them like $75 for 2 of them.
So Jordan now owns a new toothbrush. You're telling me?
So yeah, I got him one and told him, "Do you want stickers on?" He went, "No." I went, "Great, fab, no worries." And I've got the other one, and I'm charging it, and that's going to be when I travel now, because I've been using a manual one when I travel.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I always find weird is when I travel and I brush my teeth with a normal toothbrush, it just doesn't feel right.
Well, it was just one of those things. I just thought to myself, "Oh, bugger it, I'll get this." Because we ended up getting one for Christmas, but we got one of these ones that has like a family's pack station, so it has like the 4 slots for the individual heads. So me and Elle used that in our bathroom, and Edward had his one, but it literally just died the other day.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, we'll fix that. So yeah, I ended up getting that, but while I was there, I was like, I'm just gonna have a quick look at these portable hard drives because I want to see, And I realised, I thought, Jesus, I'm sure 4 terabytes used to cost nearly $1,000, $1,000.
Oh, it used to be insane.
It used to be insane. Whereas there's like, I think I paid like $230 for 4 terabytes. I thought, because there's no way, even if I go through every single laptop we've got, I don't even know if we've got a terabyte.
Yeah, you probably have between 250 and 500.
Yeah, probably. So I've probably gone overkill, but I thought to myself before, if I just get a big one. I know it wasn't the biggest one that was there. There was an 8 terabyte one there. And I was like, who the hell's buying 8 terabytes? Was the first
I was going to say, I've currently got 4 terabyte ones sitting on my computer right now. But I have a lot of my old TV. So there's some of them that have like old TV series and stuff like that. Yeah. One of them has Cherish's YouTube channel backed up there and stuff. So that one's a big one. Mm. And then the other one I think is being filled as we speak, which is also TV series and movies that I want to keep.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Yeah, but it was just one of those things. I stood there and I thought, all right, because originally I was just going to get a 2. I thought I had to look at the price difference, and the difference between buying a 2 terabyte and a 4 terabyte was $50, and I'm like, well, I might as well get the 4.
I mean, you're going to use it.
Because I know I won't fill the 4. I thought to myself, there's no possible way I'm filling a 2, let alone a 4.
And the good thing about that too, though, is it means you can continue to add to it. You can back up anything on your current things as well, like that. I always say that. I'm like, if it's affordable to buy the one that's slightly bigger, buy the one slightly bigger, because you're not going to lose it, or it's not going to miss out or anything like that.
Absolutely, but yeah. But anyway, so basically, the reason why I got reading this book series, I'll get back to the original story. So the reason why I got to reading this, because obviously Elle wanted me to read it, and I was like, no, because I thought girly book, not gonna float my boat.
There's anything wrong with girly books.
No, nothing wrong with girly books. There's nothing wrong with it, but everyone has their own sort of genres they like. And I just didn't want to deal with romance. I'm not a huge fan of romance. I don't really do romantic novels. I never have. So,
damn, Elle's a lucky woman.
What happened was, so she was saying, she was very adamant saying, look, I reckon you would actually really enjoy this one. And I was like, I'll maybe read it at some point. But it popped up on, obviously, because she said that near my phone.
Yeah.
It popped up on my TikTok algorithm.
Not that they're listening to it.
Not that the phones are listening to us at all the times, but basically what happened is there was this thing where a girlfriend had bought her boyfriend a copy, and they were reading it together. Obviously, she was a bit further ahead than he was, but it just sort of highlighted some clips and some of the emotional. He's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this has happened." She said, "Oh yeah, I know, it gets better," and so it was just. And I thought to myself, well. She's finished the book now. When we go camping, because we were going camping for 4 days, I thought I'll take it. And I tend to read a couple of chapters, and if it hasn't got me, it hasn't got me. That's fine. What happened is because I'm sat there we were sat there outside, and I was reading, and then we moved in because it was starting to rain, and Eddie's gone to sleep and everything else, and Ellie said, "Oh, I'm going to do my teeth," and I went, "Yeah," and I'm just reading, carrying on. At this point, I've forgotten what chapter I'm on because I've just kept going. And then she gets back, she goes to sleep, and then I can hear her asleep. And I just kept going and going, thinking, "Oh, it's still early. I'm an hour or 2 in at this point." I wasn't.
I was about 7 hours.
She then said, "She went, babes." I went, "What?" I said, "Just go to bed. Just go to sleep, babes." And she went, "No. You need to put the book down." I went, "Why?" She went, "Do you know what even chapter you're on?" I went, "No." She went, "Do you want me to tell you what time it is?" I went, "It's not that late." She went, "It's 12:30 at night." I was like, "No, it's not." And then looked, I was like, oh, okay.
And then George just did this.
But I was like, I'll just watch. And she said, just curiously, "What chapter are you about to finish?" I was like, "Oh, 26. She was like,
Jesus
"How have you read 26 chapters in a day?" And I was like,
They're short chapters. Yeah, they're short chapters or something.
She was like, we're going to discuss this behaviour in the morning, and I was like, okay. So I ended up quickly brushing my teeth when it came and fell asleep, and then literally the next day I was like, when we weren't doing family stuff, my nose was buried in the book.
I still think the best way to sell this book is just to be like, bro, there's dragon sex.
Well, you don't actually see the dragons. You hear it. You get the emotional connection about what's going on.
That would be a bizarre movie if they decide, let's show that.
Well, funnily enough, loads of people have been doing their dream castings for who they were getting and stuff like that sort of thing, and it's quite. Me and Al had big discussions about who we want to play, but
do you do that? I notice that when I read a book. Quite afterwards, I'm like, if I want to make a movie, this is who I would have. And it'd be like, I want, like, I don't know, like the dude that plays Jon Snow to be the main character, and I want this to do that. I find I do that all the time once I finish thinking, I'm like, bro, this could be a cool book.
It was one of these things, right? For example, I never read the Harry Potters. I saw all the movies first. And it was during the first lockdown when Elle said, right, read the books. Just trust me. I was like, I don't want it. She went, honestly, it will give you something to do when you're in between stuff. Just read the books. So I thought, all right, screw it, I'll try it. And fell in love with the books. But the problem is of course, because I've watched the movies so often and growing up with them, is, like, for example, when Hagrid talks in the book, it's Robbie Coltrane's voice in my head.
Yeah.
I can't, even though the words are so similar, but there's lots of, obviously, bits of the deviate off. I literally could not hear anyone but Robbie Coltrane's voice speaking as Hagrid.
But it is weird. Like, I found that, like, when it's like, this is based on a book, I'm like, I want to read the book. And I'm a big... I find if a series or a movie that I really like is based on a book, I will tend to go back and read the book. But yeah, you are right, where all of a sudden, even if it's not part of the movie, for some reason you hear that character play it, and you're like, yeah, cool.
I mean, to be fair, it's like, I struggle not to, like, for example, like, because obviously I enjoy rereading The Hobbit. I mean, God forbid, I ended up having to buy a new copy about 7 years ago because my one literally fell apart. Sort of thing. So I was like, right, okay, I think I can invest. I think I'm allowed to justify spending
especially
a bit of money.
Especially because depending on where you go, you could almost pick up a copy for like $12 to $18. Like, it's pretty cheap.
It's very cheap. But yeah,
that was the weirdest
problem
thing
is that when the movies came out, when I've reread it recently, I was like, I hear Martin Freeman when he speaks as Bilbo, and I'm like, I'm sure you never used to sound like Martin Freeman, but the problem is I can't think of what the voice would have sounded like.
See, every part of me, after reading that, I'm like, the one thing that I always wanted was I just wanted David Bowie. I remember when I first read The Hobbit, so I had some real issues with English growing up to the point where in year 9 I had the reading level of a grade 3.
Okay.
So at the end of year 9 I got given The Hobbit, and I was like, yeah, cool, and I'm like, thanks Auntie Bettina, worst gift ever. I don't read, I hate reading. I literally had a habit of going up and I'm like, fuck, Jordan, bro, I forgot to read the chapter yesterday. What was it about? And then you would tell me. Then I'd go to a different person and do the same thing. And I could actually get to about 8 or 9 people. Then I'd restart again and never have to read a book at school. She gave me The Hobbit and I was like, oh my God. And then I sat there one day when I think I just had my wisdom teeth out. I hated the world. I looked like the Nutty Professor. And I'm like, I'm just going to read it because it's there. And to be fair, the book took me my entire summer holidays to read. And I would read for 4 to 5 hours a day. At the end of the middle of year 10, they tested me thinking I may have a learning disability, but just for some reason, the written word just never connected with me. I was great with numbers. I passed everything. And when they retested me in the middle of year 10, I had the reading level of a year 10. And it was all because of The Hobbit. The Hobbit took me about 4.5 months to read. Now I can bang it out in about, if I read for 2 or 3 hours a day, in about maybe 4 to 5 days. And it was the most bizarre thing. So still to this day, when they were making the movie The Hobbit, I was like, oh my God, please God, no. Because for me, that had so much history for me. It helped me so much. Yet for some reason, when they made the movie, I absolutely loved it. but I still wanted David Bowie as Tom Bombadil, and I'm still very devastated that they never.
Right? No, I'm controversial. I am actually quite happy they didn't put Tom Bombadil.
Come on, man! The man.
Right?
With the...
No, don't get me wrong. Right? Okay. But to be fair, I have the same thing with you. What you've just said about them not putting Tom Bombadil in. For Harry Potter, they didn't put Peeves the Poltergeist in, and that shit should have gone in. I don't care about effects. I don't care about budget. He was the comedy relief.
Yeah.
He was always great in every single time he pops up in the book, so it would have been fantastic. But do you not find that Tom Bombadil bit in the books are a bit...
You're going to say camp?
No, they're not camp. It's just they're a bit out of place, ever so slightly.
But I kind of, for some reason, I like that because it's their first interaction. They meet kind of like the King of the Woods. He's kind of somebody that kind of is kind of like this overly camp park ranger that seems to be able to talk to trees. And for some reason, it was always fun because I felt like that was the first big character you met. And I feel like that's probably what it is. But to be fair, though, like had they put him in the movie and even if it had been a 20-minute scene in that movie, it would have felt very out of place with the route that they were going in.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it would have worked in the movie.
Oh, not even remotely. And I'm okay with that.
It's way too out of there, in my opinion, for the movie.
It was, but it still was fun, and I think it was lighthearted. To be fair though, The Hobbit engaged me because I wasn't a huge reader at all until I think it was year 7. Year 7, we had The Hobbit. It was our book, sort of thing, for the English and stuff like that. We had crap stuff like Looking for Ella Brandy and stupid stuff like that, and I was like,
oh, honestly, no. The one thing I always struggled with was bloody poetry.
I like poetry, actually. I was good at reading that because it was only like 3 or 4 words a line.
The problem is that they said, no, reading it was fine. And they said, oh, so what do you think they're conveying? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't get it. It's just, I think the problem, to be fair, I always been in this base camp of you're either artsy or you're academic.
But think of it like this, and this is how I explain poetry to people. It's like, think of it like a song. There are plenty of songs that you listen to from early 90s, 80s that kind of have this poetic way of saying things. Like right now, you listen to like a rap or an R&B song, it's like, I want to pump you from behind is what it's called. But then you have the early 80s and 90s R&B and hip-hop and soul that had a more romantic way of going about it. And I think that with poetry is like that, where it's kind of like those early 90s and 80s R&B and soul, where it wasn't just putting the message out there, it allowed you to be able to think. And a good bit of poetry, like a good song, has multiple layers. They can connect with you on different levels. It's not just like, I'm in love with a stripper. As much as I love that song, and it is just a fun song, it puts it all out there. And I think that's one thing that I always say about modern music is sometimes I feel like, especially the modern day stuff, is it's too just, here's what I'm saying, that's all it is. Where back in the day it had a soul, it had these multiple layers and this beauty about it. And with poetry it's the same, where poetry, yes, they may be talking or may sound like they're talking about the sword, but from what it is they're talking about either love, romance, the way that you fight for that passion. And I think that there are multiple layers. And that's why I think poetry, like old school music, is so good. Absolutely. No, and I get there's an appreciation for it, and I get that. But I I couldn't get my head around it. But luckily, so I'm more
as with the universe goes, opposites attract.
Yes.
So luckily, because obviously having to grow up in England, you have to do for at least because English is mandatory all the way to year 11.
Oh, really? No? Here it's mandatory to year 12.
It might be I can't remember now.
It's
mandatory. But basically, so you have to do it, and it's fine. It's not a problem. But the fact is that one of the things being British is that you have to do Shakespeare. Okay. I love Shakespeare. Shakespeare was the only thing I was good at because it was a play. I was great at Shakespeare. I got the connotations, I got all your understanding, I got the sort of balance and dynamics of it. It was just poetry I sucked at. But luckily, my best friend he sucked at Shakespeare, but he was like top notch in poetry. So as you can imagine, we would compare notes on the school bus home.
But what I don't understand though is how could you get Shakespeare but not understand poetry and the way? Because the same kind of connotation. You've got this old school English that uses phrases and words that have multiple layers that don't always mean what they say in a quite poetic way, and then poetry that does the exact same way.
Honestly, I have no idea, but I always enjoyed. I mean, once we got onto Shakespeare, because once obviously I was engaged with The Hobbit, obviously having to read whatever Shakespeare. I mean, my favourite one's Othello. That's my
Othello was great. We did Othello, we did Merchant of Venice, and we did.
I'm not a huge fan of that one. And also, was it Richard V?
We didn't do Richard V. We did another one, but I can't remember what it is now.
Everyone raves about how good that one is, and I'm like, are we talking about the same book? Because it's never engaged.
That being said, though, I did see Richard V with while I was living in London with Professor X, and I must say, Professor X knows how to act. And
Patrick Stewart, yes, I mean.
That being said, have seen his Willy now. There's that bit where he goes crazy and he's naked and he does that on scene. And you're like,
right,
Professor X, like, not what I was expecting, but...
Well, I mean... I don't know how to move on from this bit.
He's like, there's a bit that I can't move on from.
Oh, there's a bit... I mean, yeah, but I mean, obviously we had...
We've stopped Jordan. You want Jordan to shut the fuck up? 9. Just mention Thingo's Willy.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I remember, what was it, year 9, of course, we had to do Romeo and Juliet. And
that's the other one.
The movie came out in year 8, the Leonardo DiCaprio movie version of it.
I actually loved that film. I thought Claire Danes was gorgeous in it. She was such a beautiful character.
I enjoyed it the first time I had to watch it. When you have to watch it scene by scene over literally about, I can't even think how many months I had to watch it week in, week out.
So you didn't do the book, you did the movie.
It was obviously, we did the movie and we were comparing it to the book and sort of, why do you think the director took this bit out? Or why have they stretched this bit out further? And it's just like, oh my god, it's a bloody movie, who cares? Although, to be fair, in saying that, it wasn't as bad as when religious studies in year 9, when we had to deal with The Matrix, because that had come out, and all the connotations of that.
I must say, that being said, though, The Matrix, still to this day, is probably one of the best films I've ever seen, based on the way that they're viewing the world and the way that they're trying to... They've taken a very holistic approach to it, and... the Wachowskis, who I think were gentlemen then but weren't in the second and third one. But the Wachowski brothers / now sisters were absolutely brilliant. And the way that they did that and the subtones of taking people out of society was, to this day, I still think one of the best films. I personally don't even think they needed 2 and 3. Had they just released The Matrix, I would have been happy as a pig in shit because I thought that it was such a brilliantly done film.
I think that, personally, I agree with you on the same thing. I think they could have just left it. Obviously, that's not what Hollywood does, because we've already gone over this. I think season 1, we went over Hollywood.
But it was funny, because they did do that, where they made the next 2, and then just recently they're like, let's make another one, because we need more money. And you're like, really? It didn't need it. And I think that's the thing.
I haven't even watched the new one.
I haven't watched the new one. I watched...
It's turned up on Netflix, and I still haven't watched it. And normally when stuff's on Netflix, it's like, right, I better watch it now.
Yeah, I haven't watched it at all. That being said, though, from the second and third one, I absolutely loved the twins. I thought the twins were brilliant. Those white, those really white, pale
the ghost,
Dutch ones. The way they handled that and the way the special effects were done were brilliant. But that being said,
they were good. I
don't think it needed it.
But
yes, as I was saying before, when your file decided to corrupt, thank you, Streamlabs. It's for you. Just the Streamlabs.
To be fair, I don't think it's Streamlabs' fault. I think it's because I didn't have enough memory and it cuts it off. So it might have probably been down to me.
But just in case, thank you, Streamlabs.
Oh no! To be fair, we have a list of things against
mate.
Streamlabs that we need to discuss.
Please, that could be its own episode. But yeah, no, my old man built me this bookshelf that I had.
That's a multi-part series. That thing is.
It is. It's true. So I had this bookshelf that my old man built me that I'm looking forward that when I move into my house I can finally put it up. But I did get rid of a lot of books because I found that when I came back from the UK, books over there were cheap as hell. You could pick them up anywhere from like £3 to about £7 or £8, and I'm like, what the hell? So I had heaps. So when I actually went back, there was this service that you got this massive box and you could fill it, and then they would send it home. And the weird thing is you could do it for whatever, and it did. It cost about £120. And literally what they would do is they would put it in a container on the bottom of the boat. They'd obviously got these boxes made where they're like, we can fit 8 high and 4 across, and it will fit like 37. So they've just charged all these Australians to do that. They'd send it over from a boat, and then from there they would send it out. Brilliant service. I think it might have been I think it cost me all up about £120, but I put all my DVDs that I'd bought over there, and I put all my books. And to the point my dad built me this bookshelf, which I'm looking forward to using, but I just haven't been able to because living in apartments and it's heavy and trying to move it would be a nightmare. But I had my entire bookshelf full. And the one thing I do love about the Kindle is that I can be like, that's all my whole book collection, because it does take up room. But that being said, I have kept a selection of books. I think I've kept all the Lee Child books. I've checked all of Matthew Riley's books. I think it's David Gibbons and a few other ones. But there are a few random books that I picked up over the years that I found, and I ended up donating them when my mum moved out. And to be fair, like, it's awesome. Like, that's the only thing I hate about books is they just take up so much room, and it is so easy to fill an entire room.
What was a crying shame? Because obviously, as we've already discussed in this podcast, I used to work for Games Workshop, and obviously being a book reader, I devoured, and obviously I had a discount, so I devoured the Black Library options.
Yes.
Especially, and I started I had the full collection at the time, the full collection of the Horus Heresy and everything, and blah blah blah, and it was all good. Now, when Ellie got pregnant with it, obviously I lost the use of the spare room, which was my gaming area and stream and everything else, and so we had to make adjustments. And obviously, I had no place for my bookshelves with all the books, and we were talking a substantial collection.
Yeah, 100%.
So literally, and I tried to sell them as a job lot, but no, obviously, as you've already said, picking up books is quite cheap, especially on second hands. And I was just like, you know what? Given the fact that I've reread most of these books so often, I'm just going to donate them because it'll just be quicker.
That's what I did. I just went down to my local Vinnie's and I did that. What killed me, though, is there's actually a bookshop in Brunswick, which is probably about 10, 12 minutes from our house. And we'd actually been there a few times, and Cherish had actually seen some really nice books there, and they have like a more holistic thing. So when she got rid of all her books, I went there and I said, listen, can we donate these to you? And he's like, listen, I don't take donations because of the fact that they can be a bit of a nightmare because you end up having a whole heap of books. I will normally go through the books, and if I want them, I will purchase them from you. That way, then I keep my stock. And I was like, okay, cool. And I put the book on the thing, and he took a look at the first thing. He's like, don't worry, I'm buying heaps of these if they're all like this one here. Because it has a whole section of holistic. They also have like a whole section of like other things. So I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
And Cherish ended up making like $600 from her books when she eventually got rid of them. And now she's got them saved on her Kindle and stuff now. And just for traveling purposes, it is easier. But there is something beautiful about that fresh when you first open a book and you hear the page and the glue just split and you're like, especially on a hardcover, for some reason there's something beautiful about a hardcover that I'm just like, oh my God. Like I've got a book, I think it's in the box behind the computer that actually has the new Matthew Riley book in it, and it's just cool. Like you just open it and you hear that glue kind of crack a little bit, and then the smell of those fresh pages, and you're like, there is something just special about that.
Well, so what was funny? So I donated all my Black Library ones. Well, all the ones I wanted to get rid of. Cause I kept a few back that I kept rereading, sort of thing. So I was just like, yeah, I'll keep some of them. But I ended up donating them to the Red Cross shop that was in the town. So I went down and said, I've got some donation books for you. And they're like, oh, okay. Is it, just so I know I can put a sticker on it now, is there any specific category? I said, well, the majority of them are all sci-fi fantasy, but there are some fantasy-esque novels in there. It's all from the same collection, which is the Black Library. If you put them together, Like, I guarantee you'll probably, someone will see them and probably buy several books at a time.
Or
like,
at the very least, just buy all of them for like 40 quid and just be like, done.
Yeah. Literally, and then, of course, we ended up cleaning some more stuff out, and we had some more donations, so I ended up going down. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, I ended up going down. And literally, I walked in, and the lady who was behind the counter recognized me. She was like, "You're the guy who dropped off all those books." I went, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Oh, how have they been selling?" She went, "We had them in stock for 3 days. I have never seen anything like it." I said, "We've all put it together, as you said, as a collection thing. And then suddenly, like, we put it nearer the front, and then we had a couple of guys come in who bought 1 or 2, and then suddenly we were raided, and I was like, told you." She went, "Have you brought more books?" I went, "No." I said, "Yeah." I said, "You got all my books." And she's like, "Oh, God damn it."
But they are quite popular. Like, I've got friends that have done that, where they've bought all the books, and quite often what they've done is they share them amongst each other as well. But quite often they just be like, we just go buy it. Like, I've got a friend that doesn't even play Warhammer, but for some reason is obsessed with the books.
Hey, the books are really good. I mean, to be fair, I've had a couple of guys when I was obviously back in the UK for the holiday. Because obviously I bumped into, I didn't bump into. I arranged a meeting with some of the old crew.
Oh, blimey! We just booked this restaurant for 6 people, invited you, and you just happened to come. What are the chances?
I don't know why I said bumped into. I just force of habit. But and they were like, "Oh my God!" And they were discussing. A thing. I was like, "Oh, what's that?" They said, "Oh, it's the new. Have you not started reading the Siege of Terror yet?" And I went, "No." I said, "Oh my God, Jordan." Get on it.
You call yourself a fan.
And I was like, well, I know how the story ends. It's like, we're just talking about the Horus Heresy and the Siege of Terror. Guess what? I know how the story ends. And they went, no. Gotta read it. It's good. I was like, okay, all right, I'll get round to it. So I think I've got to get that on the list at some point. I've got to get round to the Siege of Terror.
And that's one thing I do love about reading.
It's about 10 books. It's 10 books.
Oh, it's 10 books. Holy crap!
Yes, it's 10 books. I'm like, oh my God.
That's a few books actually. So, but it is weird because I do think that especially books are something that are universally amazing. And we are losing that kind of thing because we want our books summed up for us in 30 seconds on TikTok or on a reel or something silly like that. And sometimes it kills my soul because I'm like, man, all I want is that these things are able to be loved again. And it is hard, I find.
It's one of the, I'm very happy because we've read to Ed. I mean, one of the things that we did as parents is we objectively chose to make sure we read a story to him every day.
Yeah.
And then obviously he got to the stage where he's talking and we got him to read it. And so we'd sit with him and then we started sitting with him less, but he still had that passion for reading. And I was like, great. And literally, we don't know how we've done it, but he has ran with it. He loves reading. It's one of his things, especially facts. The Guinness World, honestly, the first time we bought him the Guinness World Records annual thing, he practically memorised 90% of all the bloody things.
It's kind of random, but I kind of like it as well.
He's like, "Dad, do you know the world record for X?" And it's like,
for the amount of Skittles flicked off your ear into somebody's mouth is 17.
It was just like, that is so strange, but the fact that he enjoys reading so much, and it's like, great. But now we've started putting him onto, like, obviously, because he was reading, what was the big series he was reading? He was massively into Diary of a Minecraft Zombie, which, because obviously he liked Minecraft, and he was like, oh, so I bought him a couple of books, and then he ran with it. And I think at the point of where I've realised that we're on book 26, and these books are 10 books a pop, and I'm like, okay, maybe we need to look at a different series now.
Maybe you need to slow the hell down, little man.
This is getting expensive. So, but we ended up sort of...
I was going to say, I've got a website for you if you want to get him a Kindle.
We bought a Kindle last year for his birthday, and we've used that quite a lot, and even Elle's used it as well. She's realised that it's quite handy rather than having to lug books that are like this thick. Yeah, that's a lot of packing room when you think about it.
That's the hardest thing. That's the one thing that I'm like, that's the only complaint that I have with buying books, and why sometimes I do download books or I do thing is the fact that it is hard because of the storage space.
Oh, well, what was it? It was about a year ago. I wanted to reread Gaunt's Ghost. I don't know why. I just, Dan Abnett, Gaunt's Ghost, loved the novels because that was it. I wanted to reread them because he had released the last book of the series, and I was like, and I thought, oh, I'll get it. But then I went, oh, I haven't got the paper copies anymore, and I want to reread it because now what I could do is just reread it back to back.
Yeah.
And and have this glorious arc. But the problem is that you can't buy the individual books anymore. You can get these omnibuses of them. And I was like, I thought, well, I could just download them, and I could. But I thought, no, forget it, I'm going to splash the cash. So I did. I ended up splashing the cash. And I got the last omnibus, but of course, the last 3 books aren't in an omnibus yet. And I was like, oh, great, well, I'll just get them ordered individually. Can't get them for love nor money over here. And I was so angry. So I was like, right, fine, I'm going to download them. Because I literally, at that point, I was like so invested and I just really wanted to read them. So I downloaded them and it wasn't the same, but to be fair, I was obsessed. I was there, scroll. And to be fair, what was it? I think it was about 6 months ago. Was it before Christmas? No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Christmas. No, it was about 8 months ago. That was it. There was a Humble Bundle, and a guy said to me at work, he was like, "Oh, have you seen the latest Humble Bundle that's gone up online?" I went, "No, that's all right," because I very rarely check Humble Bundle.
Yeah, I literally keep my subscription to that just in case, because there's been a few things that I've got that I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool."
I mean, you keep an eye, and occasionally there's a really good deal, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'll get all that." Fabulous. But there was a Black Library one, and it was 30 books, completely random books. It was so random, but there was loads of, and I thought to myself, well, I'm going to go on holiday, and I thought, well, actually, it'd be quite good just to have like a handful of books that I can read. And to be fair, I'm still working my way through 2 of them.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them I'm still working through.
I saw that, and I was going to send it to you.
Terrible.
Yeah, but the thing is, the good thing about something like Humble Bundle is you may, and I found that when I've got, little things where I bought it for one thing, but for, $20, I'm like, it's just easier to buy it and worry about it. But
Are you looking at Humble Bundle now? Because I am.
I'm not. Oh, wait,
don't you lie?
I'm not. Why is this typing for some reason?
Why is this typing? Oh,
but what was weird, though, is one thing that I found really weird was one of the guys at my work, he bought this book of this YouTuber or something who's goes out to different gang neighborhoods all over the world, and he kind of does that, and he wrote a book, and he said some controversial things, surprise, surprise, and his publisher's recently gone, no, we're removing your book, and he bought it from QBD for $12, and he's like, well, I've read it once, and it was all right, but maybe if it's taken out, people are looking for it, and he had a look, and online it's going for about $120. And he's like, what the hell? So he put his copy up, took half a dozen photos of it, all good. It ended up going for $475. And then there's that recently disgraced cop that wrote this book, and then later down the track it found out that half the stuff he was saying was a lie, and he was corrupt as hell. And he has that book, and the same thing, he's put it up, and he's at the moment sitting for about $320.
Okay.
And I'm like, holy bejesus. But books, man, that's the way to go.
Yeah, basically, we've become, this is our book episode.
Which was weird, because I'm like, I want to see if he's seen Aquaman and watch about that. But he's like, no, screw you.
Well, maybe, I'll tell you what, how about I aim to watch Aquaman for the next one? There we go, we got direction for the next one.
He says that, but...
He says that. I can do it.
Because I want to talk about it because I'm interested, because there is a number of things that I'm not sure about, but I want to see other people's kind of reactions to it.
So basically, you've watched it and you really want to talk to me about it, but you don't want to influence my opinion on it. You want to see if... Oh, okay.
The one thing that did obviously annoy us, which is probably the same as most people, is just the fact that obviously what's her name, Amber Heard being in it. And though they have tried to obviously write her out, which is what they said, and they cut back a lot of her stuff, she does still seem to be in it quite a bit.
No.
Not heaps, but enough that you kind of go, it's kind of weird, because Obviously, as soon as the allegations came out, Johnny Depp was obviously cut from Fantastic Beasts. It did make me make me chuckle a bit because though he was cut from Fantastic Beasts because of his contract, he was guaranteed $10 million. So he still kind of did that. But then obviously he lost a whole heap of franchises, lost a whole heap of movies, and then with this it was like, oh, but she's already in it, and I'm like,
yeah,
I understand that, but like there was a number of factors that I kind of went, okay, cool. But not a massive fan of. But that being said, I do think that it was.
All right. Well, next episode we will discuss Aquaman. I will get round and I will watch it and we will go from there. Sort of thing.
He says.
I will.
But can you after this? Can you also send me a link of what those books are? I actually want to see what they're like.
Oh, wait, we saw the fourth week.
Yes.
I can do that. That's easy enough.
Because
anyway,
we might even put it in the comments if you want to read these scantily, which don't really sound scantily. It sounds like the most scantily clad thing is about the
honestly,
the dino
in comparison
porn.
to some of the stuff that Ella's told me about, which happens in the big series that I bought her by accident, which was A Court of Thorn and Roses. These books are tame in comparison. She's like, oh, these are tame. I went, this is tame. She went, yeah, this is tame. I was like, okay.
It's kind of scary when people say that. It's like, oh, this one's so much tamer than that one. You're like, wait, what?
I mean, I literally, I was reading some of the bits, and it's just like Edward suddenly comes by, and I'm like, what? He's like, what's up? Nothing at all.
Mm-hmm. No English. Like, I mean, you're just like, I don't know.
Pablo, no English.
Yeah. But no,
anyway, we'll wrap up there, ladies and gentlemen. I'll say, it's a good time to end it right there, because Dez can send me the full video, so that I've got recorded.
that is kind of funny.
Oh, it is. God forbid. Anyway, we just want to say a big thank you to all our recent subscribers and recent followers. Please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. And please leave comments down below of what's a good book series that you guys enjoy that you'd like to let us know.
And shout out to my local bottle shop and the young redhead girl that I was talking to about this podcast. That we may have got a new listener because she goes, "Oh, my friends are nerdy. I should give it a listen." And I'm like, yes. We've got another fan.
Did you warn her how bad the first few are?
I did say start from season 4. She's like, how many seasons have you done? I'm like 3. By 4 we should have it all nailed down. I'm hoping so. Start from 4. So she probably won't see this shout out, but
that's fine. That's all right. No worries. Anyway, much love. Peace out, people. Relax.
Layers.